friends, welcome back to episode 2 of Here's the Thing. And today I have my very close friend Tommy. He is a mindset coach, and here he is.
Hello.
What's up, my friend?
Thank you for bringing me in.
How are you?
I'm great, I'm doing well, overall life's good, I'm excited for the future. Yeah, how about yourself, Chetan?
How about myself? I'm currently very, very envious of the fact that you're dressed in this manner. So I need to compensate.
That's right, I think it's a good way to represent, one side of your personality,
That's true, I do have multiple.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm scared. Ooh. Ooh, that's right.
Alright. Now that's better. Let's do it. Alright. So, Tommy, how would you describe yourself?
Oh, I started nice and light.
Very nice and light.
I think in a simple few words, I would describe myself as someone who's has a good balance between, not taking life so seriously, but also someone who loves, having deep conversations. I like to think I'm quite versatile and also flexible. So what I mean with that, when it comes to talking to people, I'm able to, raise up my energy, be quite excited, and be, full of joy and life of the party. But depending on who I'm talking to, someone's more reserved and quiet, I can also tone that down, to match the person. So I like to think, overall quite flexible, quite adaptable. I like to think, if I was to describe myself in a few words, motivated, I think, maybe cheerful, full of joy, but also I think I'm also strong-minded in terms of when I know what I want to do, what I want to pursue, and where I want to go.
Perfect, man. That's amazing. I love that answer. Because it's interesting, because I feel like when you ask people how they describe themselves, it's a huge indicator of what they value. So like, some people might say, oh, I do this for work. You know that they value their work itself. For you, when I asked you to describe your character, that's very interesting. Because I think if you asked me to describe yourself, I would probably go straight to what I do for work, what type of goals I like to achieve and things like that. So it's really, really interesting that you described yourself in that manner. So you said you're motivated, yes?
Yeah.
So, in terms of motivation, because again, you said a mindset coach. So, what actually motivated you to be a mindset coach, and how did that sort of come about?
That's a good question. And I feel like from my experience seeing other people, hearing their stories, I think it usually starts off with overcoming our own struggle ourselves. And I don't know how much time we have, and
go for it.
Yeah, go for it. All right, it's because I think for me, one of my biggest struggles growing up was overcoming people-pleasing tendencies.
That's very interesting. I would say the same, but please finish.
That's all right. You can dive into that. And so, and I guess how does that correlate with why I want to be a mindset coach is like earlier on, my parents always we live life for others, in my language, of course.
Okay.
And I'm honest here, I didn't get that saying. And
can you repeat that, sorry?
So, we live life for others.
We live life for others. Yes, okay, that's a saying.
Of course, of course, translated in my language. So it might not be exact, but but also at the same time, as I was growing up, I was dealing with those people pleasing tendencies, and so that meant I'll try to always be nice, try to make everyone like me, the usual people who tend to say yes to everything. Well, it got to a certain point where I was like, what's driving this? Like, and of course it would frustrate me because when it comes to maybe arguments or people sharing their beliefs and point of views, because I didn't want to offend them, I would just agree with them, and not necessarily would, and inside I'll be like, no, that's not right. And I'm like, why am I like this? Why am I, afraid to speak my point of view and stand my ground, and especially when, beliefs and values, I think, clash with mine. I'm like, no, this isn't right. Like, I gotta stand up for myself.
You're
you
saying something, but then your brain, your heart's just like, man, I do not agree with this.
Yeah.
Right? Why are you saying this, you know?
And it's just like to, because in the day, we want to be accepted, we want people to like us as well.
Of course.
And so if we oppose people and challenge people's beliefs, then that puts us at a risk at, hey, people may not accept or like me.
Yeah.
And so it's, I guess it's like a battle between living an authentic life where you're living to your values versus wanting to be accepted by the people around you. And that's, I think, quite a tough battle to say.
100%. 100%. And then, obviously, that's a tough choice to make. And at what point were you like, all right, I've got to choose my values?
Yeah. Yeah, and so that actually transitions well to, I think, from memory, the first point in time where I actually started to overcome those people-pleasing tendencies was, I would say, back when I was in year 10. And so there was, I think, actually, to bring it back for context, so one of my good friends now, he was actually part of the reason I overcome that people-pleasing tendency.
Okay.
For some context, so back in year 7, it was just my best friend and I at the time, and we heard that someone from the advanced class apparently got expelled.
Oh, damn,
because
okay.
they apparently assaulted someone in their class.
Seriously?
Apparently.
Okay, allegedly assaulted someone, so they got expelled, okay.
Yes, and so they end up being moved to our class. And
wait, they got expelled and got moved to your class?
Yeah. Let's say kicked out. Maybe kicked out.
They got kicked out. I thought they got expelled from the school. They were like, all right, you beat up this guy, see you, no more education. Goodbye to your income, salary, and everything else you value. Goodbye.
I think expel was a bit of maybe a bit too strong of a
okay,
kicked out. I think kicked out was
kicked
more
out that particular class. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. And so when he moved to our class, he tried to see, who would he, I guess, get along and fit in with in class. And he saw my best friend and I.
Yes.
He was Asian. We're both Asian.
Okay, sure.
And early on, we realized he was an ass.
Really?
Really big ass. He was very, I guess, he wants things to be his way. Like, for example, he would like to sit in between us when it comes to like classrooms, and if things didn't go his way, he would use blackmail, even be manipulative. Like, for example, he'll be like, if you don't do this or that ABC, I'm gonna break your pencil, for example.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was.
Please don't break my pencil.
It was.
I paid 99 cents for it. Don't do that.
Yeah. And that was just that's just an example.
Yeah, of course, I understand. Yeah, what you're saying.
But fortunately, both my best friend and I, we are quite, I think, grounded in terms of who we are as people. Yeah. And so, you probably heard the average of the people spend the most time with.
Of course.
And so naturally, throughout the years, he got more bearable.
Okay.
So I have to really respect my best friend too, because it was just me. It was team effort. But he was still annoying. He was still really annoying. Yeah. And going back to the story, so in year 10, I think this is when the camel broke its back. Ooh. And so it was in a Vietnamese language class on a Saturday, and I was sitting with him. I don't know what he said. I don't quite recall what he said, but it just ticked me. And really? I remember I looked at him, I shoved him in one hand. Yeah. And I was like, sorry if it's the language, but I'm like, are you fucking serious? Damn. And the whole class was dead silent for 5 seconds. Yeah. Because when you make the nice kid angry, you stuffed up. 100%. 100%. And yeah, of course. Yeah, it was dead 5 second silence. And I remember he whispered, okay. And then he just sat down behind me. Yeah. It was only 15 minutes later he came back and he actually apologized for what he did and what he said. And honestly, I think at the time it felt kind of good. Yeah. That, for the first time I didn't let my people-pleasing tendencies, I guess, dictate how I should act, behave, think, and feel at the time. Of course, yeah. And so I think that was really the first step for me to overcoming that people-pleasing tendencies. Yeah. And I guess where does Mindset Coach come in as well? Going back to saying how my family's always we live life for others. Yeah. And over time, I would see that I guess, unravel in my life through helping people, because I have to admit I would see myself as sort of somewhat of a healer growing up.
Okay, yeah.
I'll see a lot of my friends come to me, looking for respect and advice, and I somehow was able to provide like this philosophical perspective in a way that I was really able to empower people as well.
Yep.
But funny enough, in saying that, I was also quite of an airhead.
Okay.
What I mean by that is like I was quite, oblivious to my own surroundings, and I wasn't sure what was happening around me, like the world around me. Like for example, like if I was hanging out in a group of friends, and let's say a couple in the group broke up, I wouldn't find out about it till like I'll be the last person to find out about it.
Okay, sure.
And someone would have to tell me about it.
Okay.
That's how bad it was. So it's interesting, like how but at the same time, I think that also was a strength of mine, because I didn't, let's say, wasn't quite aware of, I guess, what's happening around me, and I didn't, let's say, had a good understanding of people. Yep. There was this, I guess, intense desire in wanting to understand people as well, and I think made me realize early on one of my superpowers was listening. Yeah. And I think that's just a great form of expression in terms of showing love to someone, to really consider and to just meet people for where they're at, where their reality is. Because, everyone is, I think, doing the best that they can from the level of awareness and circumstance they're in. Yeah. And so just go to anyone, whether you're a coach, just a friend, just if someone's going through a bad day, just listen. And I think often the masculine side of us tends to like jump to solutions.
Like,
you should do this and that, but a lot of people, they just want to be heard.
100%. Like literally, you mentioned that just this morning. What happened was, I have a guy I recently met. He's a friend of mine, and he wanted to talk about some things, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it. All I did was literally just listen. Beautiful. And he was so happy because I was like, I would love to help you. I don't know what the fuck to say, but I'm gonna listen. Yeah. And he really appreciated that. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I can add value even if I am just literally physically being there listening to that person. So you mentioned that literally happened to me this morning. So that's absolutely amazing, and like an absolutely amazing skill as well. By the way, great last few minutes. We just come through all of that. I love that. So for you, it was that particular scenario during like year 10 that sort of was the catalyst to you, not getting rid, but sort of overcoming your people-pleasing tendencies.
Yeah, it was definitely the first start. And to be honest, I feel like I only really started to truly question that that part of me back in 2020 lockdown. A very transformative.
There we go, once again.
Yes, a very transformative year for me, and I know it was definitely a hard time for a lot of people, and and I have all the love and compassion for people, and because we are social animals and creatures. We're made to connect and talk to people, and so to be isolated in your own house is probably no different to people who are in a jail,
Yes.
We're basically locked up
100%. I absolutely agree. The fact that at one point we couldn't go out past a certain time, we could only exercise for 1 hour, we were only allowed a certain, number of things that we could do in a day, it's pretty much jail. It is jail. So I understand what you're saying, and that's when you do a lot of self-reflection as well.
Yes, for sure. And I think the quote that comes to mind is from Napoleon Hill, and he goes, with every adversity there's a seed of equal and greater benefit. And I found during lockdown there were two types of people. It's those who would run away and maybe hide from the problems, or those who face their problems head on and thrived. And I like to believe I was the second one. Because for me, I would say lockdown was probably one of the toughest times of my life, because at that time I lost my job right away. Gym closed. And for me, I found the trap of putting a lot of my identity on these external things. And so when COVID literally took that away from me, I felt like I was stripped away part of my identity.
100%. Yeah. That was actually generally going to be one of the topics I was going to be covering. Because I remember talking about physical fitness and all of that for you, and you told me that gym was a huge part of your life, which it was for me as well. And when that, and also like academics, because I used to go to uni and like performing well was sort of my way to feel good about myself. And again, those two aspects taken away from you, put in lockdown, you don't have access to the gym, you don't have access to the weights, anything like that. I was like, damn, what do I do? You know? So I imagine similarly for you, and how did you manage that?
Yeah, so with that happening, it was actually probably in hindsight one of the greatest blessings in my life. But at the time, you don't see that when adversities happen. You tend to see the negative, outcomes and impacts in your life. But it's only through, over time, when you grow, you look back, you're like, wow, I'm so grateful that happened.
Yeah.
And it sounds weird to say, because if your past self is looking at your future, you're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And so I think I would say this is the start of me starting to really reflect on, okay, what's the pathway ahead to life? Because when those were taken away from me, for the first time, I was actually quite anxious, scared for the future.
Yeah.
And it paired up with the fact that at the time I was studying science, I knew for the longest time in the back of my mind, it just wasn't something I was passionate about. And you might ask them, why did I pursue it? Because back in high school, chemistry was my strongest subject.
Okay.
And so I thought, okay, let's pursue this because it's my strongest subject, let's do uni. And maybe throughout that journey, we can hopefully figure out something we might enjoy for that. And well, there were some things that came to mind, like I think, psychology was a good one, nutrition was kind of cool as well.
I think you would have done great at psychology as well, like looking at the way that, you interpret and speak as well,
No, I'm humble and appreciative to take that compliment.
Absolutely. That's why, remove the aspiring, my friend. Remove it. You don't need it.
It's a work in progress. We'll get
remove it.
Yeah. And so I think while those did, I guess, spark some interest in me, I felt like deep in my heart, it wasn't something I guess my heart was truly wanted to pursue in those areas.
Okay.
So I think at that time I really reflected it, and I thought to myself, okay, what's something I really love to do, I really enjoy that maybe I just didn't set time aside for because I maybe quote unquote didn't have the time for, which is I think a terrible excuse, because at the end of the day I think if it's important enough to you, make time for it, right?
Yeah.
It's not a matter of a time issue, it's more of a priority
Which was what? Sorry, like to face what? Making time for what?
And which is actually, I dove deep into the realm of self-development for the first time.
Yeah, okay.
And why I came to, conclusion is because back then I would be one to, post quotes on my Facebook status. It would be like some cliche cheesy quotes like this. If I was like, one of them for mine was like from Dr. Seuss. It was like, don't be sad because it's over. Smile because it happened. Yeah. But hey, we gotta start somewhere.
Somewhere,
right?
You have to. Yeah.
When I look back at it, I'm like, let's dive deep to that.
Yeah.
Let's dive. And so at the time, I got my hands on anything that I could improve myself, maybe physically, mentally, and spiritually. So that'll be like, YouTube videos, masterclass, workshops, online webinars, anything that I can get my hands on. And although I wasn't too sure where I was heading at the time, I knew that if I was becoming 1% better than who I was yesterday, I was heading somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah,
right?
Of course.
And, and having trust and faith, in that journey that, you will figure it out at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that went for probably a few months.
Yeah.
And that ultimately led to, in September 2020, I came across this free workshop. And one of the biggest speakers was Tony Robbins.
Yep.
And there was a few other successful entrepreneurs as well, and they were just sharing their mindset, their success principles, build their story, and just adding value. Just so much great content and gold throughout that. And it was a free workshop too, and so got so much value out of it. And they end up advertising this 3-day conference that was happening in 2 weeks' time. Still didn't have a job at that time because I lost my job to start. Their lowest ticket.
And for context, what did you work prior to losing that job? What did you work as?
So I worked as a powder coater.
Okay.
So for those who don't know what that is, it's basically I would be putting paint on metal fences.
Okay.
And that's how metal things like maybe tables, fences to get their color, right? So it's powder coating. And so at the time, didn't have a job still. The lowest ticket was $300 in US.
Oh shit.
Which was about $450
$450,
at the time. And that's a lot of money.
That's insane, my friend. 3-day workshop, $450. Damn.
I mean, like, it looked expensive at the time, like, but...
I mean, it's Tony Robbins,
Yes.
Yeah.
But they provided so much value that I thought to myself, I would be a fool to miss this event.
Yeah.
Right? Brought the ticket, didn't discuss it with anybody. I'm like, all right, 2 weeks time, see you later.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out when the time happens, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But I think it was leading up to the event was, I guess, problems started to rise because I started doubting myself and I thought, did I, make a rash decision? Should I discuss this with somebody? Because this event happened on October, so the 1st of October. It goes for 3 days. Each day goes for about 8 to 10 hours.
Okay, wow.
In American times. So, so for example, the first day was 11 a.m., which translated to 12:30 a.m. in Melbourne times.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh my god, my sleep, am I going to keep up with uni? Exams are coming. What are my friends going to think? They think I'm going to be still alive.
Do I have friends?
No!
Where are you guys?
So it was like all those problems start to arise, but fortunately, when the day arrived, October the 1st, back in 2020, all those worries and doubts were completely shattered because, I'll be honest here, that event, I would say, changed my trajectory in life by tenfold.
Wow, okay.
And of course, a lot of raw value, talking about mindset, success principles, how to run an online business, because if you think about during that time, a lot of small businesses closed, but the ones
100%.
who thrived, like Amazon, who had an online platform, they skyrocketed. Their profits, like, I think, like, at least doubled or tripled. And that's great and all, but on the second night, there was this one speaker, his name is Trent Shelton.
Okay.
I don't remember his speech precisely, but this is part of the speech I remembered that really resonated and changed my life, really. And he goes, if you don't market your skills and share your story to the world, you're doing a disservice to the world.
Wow.
Because there are people out there who are going through a problem that you've overcome yourself, and maybe you're the only one who has a solution to it.
That's amazing.
And so long it takes for you to market your skills and share your story to the world, the longer these people will suffer.
Okay.
And at that time, it clicked in me, and I thought, I actually want to be some form of life coach.
100%.
And how I knew what life coaching was back then, when I was jumping on YouTube videos, workshops, masterclasses, like webinars, I came across people who proclaimed themselves to be a formal life coach. And I thought, wow, this would be pretty cool, I think, and fulfilling to have a career some sort where you're, adding value and changing people's lives and also making a living for that. And I think that would be amazing. But that wasn't the rest of his talk, right?
Yeah, but going back to what you said. So he basically just said, you have to be you or people are going to suffer. Basically, right? In a summary. You have to showcase what you have to offer. Otherwise, there's people out there going through something that you could help solve, but not doing it. It's kind of like a negative motivator almost.
Yeah, I think you can see it like that too, because I think at the end of the day, like, while we're all coming from different backgrounds, cultures, religions, different upbringings, while our experience growing up will most likely be different to everyone else. I think what makes its storytelling so powerful is that we resonate with the emotions we felt during that journey of struggle and adversities.
Of course,
and so my understanding of his part, that first part of his speech was like, you've gone through struggle that people are going through at the moment right now, and if we don't, I guess, succeed in our life and share that story too, then who's going to inspire them, show them like, what's possible for them? Because it's like, if they hear your story, they can go, wow, if he and she can do it, so can I.
Of course, absolutely. I think similarly as well, I think for me a huge motivator for doing this podcast and just generally, even at other events or something like that, trying to help people out. It's just that, okay, I've maybe done a couple of things that's helped me. If I can provide a little bit of value to someone else, even as simple as making them laugh, that could really, really help. And I'm not saying that that's like selfless, that's absolutely selfish, but I would love to do that for people. So I agree with that 100%. Like, you have to, as you said, be able to market yourself and what you have to offer. Other people can get value out of that as well. That's amazing, man. So that got you then from doing the Facebook quotes, and then that really changed your mindset to then actually you starting your Instagram account now that you run doing those quotes.
Yeah. I mean, I think to tie it up, I think I'll tell you that last part of that speech because that's what sent it home for me.
Okay.
So the rest of his speech, he goes, what's the wealthiest place in the world? The graveyard. Why? This is where most business ideas and dreams are buried.
Yep.
Most people spend their last days on a deathbed wishing and regretting that they should have done more. I can be that person too.
Yeah.
And when I was you, Chetan, like when I heard that, I cried. I bawled my eyes out because it was at that moment I finally realized being like her, that was my purpose in life. And I feel like once you have a sense of clarity in who you want to be, what you want to do, where you want to go, that gives you a special kind of confidence that I don't think any external material possession can quite replicate.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
And so I think that point was when my heart was like, this is the way. And that's when I realized, I want to be a form of life coaching. And I think, once you have clarity in where you want to go, everything that makes sense and will help you towards that will become clear, and everything doesn't blurs out. And so, I think throughout the next few months, I came across mentors and coaches of some sort as well to help me progress and pursue that dream of mine to be a life coach of some sort.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I would have to say it was really probably a year after realizing I want to be a former life coach. Back in 2021 in September was when I actually finally decided I want to be a mindset coach. And how I guess came to that realization is, so of course when you look at like entrepreneurs, one of their successful habits is reading every day, listening to podcasts.
Okay, yeah.
And so I was reading from other successful entrepreneurs, listening to podcasts, listening to their success stories, their mindsets, and just their journey of overcoming, and that led me to listen to like all these other people.
Yeah. And
that month of September 2021.
Yeah.
So I was listening to this podcast. His name is Kern Ray. He's also a business strategist of some sort and also a mindset coach. Really looked up to him. Yeah. And he has a podcast and he interviewed this guy, and his name was Peter Crone.
Okay.
And he calls himself the mind architect.
Okay.
And his philosophy in life is he doesn't solve people's problems, he dissolves them, because he believes there's nothing inherently wrong with anyone, but he helps people see past what's in the way of them thinking that to begin with. Okay. And when I listen to his work...
How does he like absolve them?
Dissolve them?
Yeah, I thought you said absolves, like what do you mean? Dissolve them?
Yeah, he doesn't solve people, he
dissolves them. Okay,
yes,
yeah.
Because he believes there's nothing wrong with anyone, but because growing up through experiences, not entirely that person's fault, through past experience of hurt where something happened or someone said something to them, we form beliefs and stories about how we see the world, about ourselves. Yep. And therefore that influences the way we think, feel and behave today. But oftentimes people have a perspective belief of themselves that is very disempowering. Thinking, for example, the biggest one is a feeling of not good enough. And I face that as well. And I think all of us, not all of us, I'm saying majority of us have now, or at least some point in their life, have gone through the strong belief that they don't think they're good enough. That can come in the forms of I'm not smart enough, not pretty enough, not strong enough, skinny enough, like whatever, right? I personally was facing the form of, I wasn't good enough, and I think
because of what, if you don't mind me asking?
We'll get there, yeah.
Okay, we'll get there.
Yes.
All right.
So because I wasn't, I believe I wasn't good enough. In this case, I wasn't fit enough. That translated me to become a people pleaser as a way to compensate for that. And so I think it was also during the year of 2020. It was when I actually first finally challenged that belief. Like, why didn't I think I was, not good enough? In this case, not fit enough. Because I, growing up, I thought I was a chubby kid.
Okay.
So, that led me to believe that I didn't think I was good enough.
Yeah.
And as a result, drove me to become a people pleaser, to compensate for that. Okay.
That's
yeah.
insane. Because mine was the direct opposite. I was a tiny kid growing up.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, 142 cm until I was like 14 years old. Super tiny. But because of that, everyone else was larger than me, had a bigger stature. So therefore I felt like I had to agree with them.
Wow.
But on some similar level, it's because of that sort of physical image we have of ourselves as well. That might have led to the, people pleasing.
Yes. And there's, I think, perfectionism is also a big one too. And it does come down to people's perception, how they grown up, but we adopt certain behaviors in order to, I guess, ultimately, the primordial intent of any organism is to survive.
Yeah.
In our sense, we agree to people. That's how we, I guess, belonged into the pack or community.
Yeah. You fit in. Yeah.
So I think going back to my story, I was first only able to challenge that belief was actually when my friends came over and they're looking through my old album. My mom keeps a lot of my childhood photos growing up year to year. Thanks, Mom. And my friends gone through that and they're like, Tommy, you weren't actually fat.
Yeah. And
I looked the photos and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Oh, except for year 12, I gained weight because stress and
okay.
But besides the point, but every year before that, I was actually normal. I guess not relatively healthy looking, right? And so, for the first time, I had physical evidence that also challenged me to think, maybe I wasn't actually chubby or fat, right? And so, I actually started diving deep to this and started reflecting, where does this belief come from? And I actually went through it's like a hypnotherapy meditation session.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think we all need to go through something like that to realize this kind of stuff, but I just happened so...
How does that work?
This one was actually a webinar of some sort. Yeah. And the one that took me through that session, her name is Marissa Peers. She's also very well known as well. And so she went through that, that therapy session, taking me through that. Even though it was a webinar, she took me to a place that made me realize and remembered back when I was 7 years old at my grandparents' house, around the kitchen bench with one Pacific auntie and 3 of my other cousins around my age. And at the time, because I was bigger relative to my cousins, she called me fat. And so I realized, looking back at that, as a kid, I interpreted that as she called me fat, therefore, I wasn't, fit enough, wasn't healthy enough, wasn't good enough. And then that as a byproduct of that belief, I formed people-pleasing tendencies to compensate for that.
And that memory that she led you to, was that something that you already were cognizant of, or was that something through the webinar you're like, shit, I didn't know I had this memory?
Yeah, it was the second.
Really?
I didn't realize that was driving me this whole time, and I would also invite people to just question, why do you do what you do?
Yeah.
Why do you have maybe people pleasing tendencies or perfectionism as example, because those it's not who you are, it's just a byproduct of the belief or view you have of yourself, and that usually stems from past experience or pain and hurt. And going back to my journey of that, when I recognized that, wow, that was what's driving me, how I overcome that is I think it's first becoming self-aware with anything we do, you know, in order to solve a problem. And I don't like to use that word problem because there's nothing wrong with us. It's to recognize that, oh, hey, like there's something that's affecting my quality of life. So self-awareness in itself is transformative. I think there's a quote where it goes, you know, a problem realized, a problem half solved. And so once you're being aware, and I think it's acceptance. Okay, that's what happened, you know. You know, she said that, made that comment. I can't change that. Right? So it's accepting for what's happened. And the next thing I did was I forgave my younger self. Because he didn't know me better, right? He just saw the comment, face value as it is, took it on board. You know, and as kids, we can't rationalize that. Like, we just take it, face value, and she may have just threw it out as a comment because she cared about me, but I didn't know that. Right? And so it's, what I did was after that was, you know, forgive my younger self, who at the time was doing the best that he can. Once I forgave myself and accepted what's happened, now it's challenging the validity of that belief or perception of yourself. Because what's crazy is, you know, I think a lot of us, we go throughout our journey accumulating external evidence to support limiting beliefs about ourselves that have been imposed by other people, without asking ourselves, is this true? You know, is it true that I'm not good enough? Is it true I'm not smart enough? Is it true I'm not pretty enough? Like, whatever, right? And then we either buy into that, or we do whatever we can to prove that wrong. You know, and so that's where it's crazy, right? And that's where our you know, behavior adaptations, for example, people pleasing and perfectionism comes in.
Of course.
Because ultimately, you know, if you think you're not good enough and you want to prove it wrong, then you'll prove to everyone, you know, no, I'm good enough. I'm perfect. You want to do well academically.
Do the opposite of what I think is in my mind, and therefore I will be completely, you know, fine. If I can just outrun that thought by doing the opposite of whatever it is, you know. Like, seriously, with people pleasing, I feel to some extent, because I've had those type of tendencies for a long time, and again, we talked about it. Maybe the physical stature, maybe just trying to fit into society, into whatever community it was, especially because of the fact that for me, race was a huge thing as well. Trying to fit into the community where I was perhaps not the majority. I was like the minority, sometimes the only Indian guy in class, only Indian person in this particular area. Just trying to fit into that. And then now that I pretty much don't have those tendencies, because whenever I feel it, I just immediately speak out. I'm like, nah, I refuse. I have to like say something about this. Now when people think I'm rude or something, I'm like, oh, great. You know? That's the polar opposite. I think obviously being in the middle is probably the most appropriate thing, but going from being here to then going to the extreme opposite is maybe something that a lot of people do before they find their way back to the middle ground. So I've noticed that, like, within myself as well, that maybe before when I used to people please, and then recently when I was like super direct with people, then now I'm just like, oh yeah, I was like that and I was like that, now let's, you know, come to the middle, analyze things, and then really give my response. So it's an interesting way to think about it and try to like outrun that thought that you have within yourself as well.
What's also crazy is that, like, you can do as much as you can to run that for, but at the end of the day, if, for example, if you believe, you know, yourself not to be fundamentally not good enough, it doesn't matter how much you do, because everything you do is just a transitory band-aid solution to cover or mask the deep inner belief from you thinking you're not good enough. And so you can see how this is just a vicious ongoing cycle
forever.
But then that's what, you know, no fault anyone's own, have compassion for. That's what a lot of us are in, that trap. But then if we can step outside that and realize and just ask ourselves, you know, is it true? You know, I think just putting a question mark behind the thoughts we have You know, so it's like you're so stupid, or you're so
Yeah.
stupid, and you know, maybe in some cases that might be true.
Yeah.
Anyways, and for me, it's like I challenge my belief. You know, is it true that I'm fat? And you know, in this case, no, it's not true.
Yeah.
And now it's like once I recognize that's not true, I invited or encouraged myself to step into a new arena of possibility by asking myself, you know, in the absence of believing I wasn't good enough, in this case not fit enough, like if not feeling not good enough was impossible, I couldn't feel that anymore.
Yeah.
Who would I be? You know, I'll be, you know, someone, you know, I feel you know, empowered, I feel liberated, you know, I feel at peace with myself. And just to fully close the loop of story, how I guess overcame that was, you know, once I stepped out in a new arena, I looked at my younger self, and the thing is, I changed my history. That might sound insane. You're like, change your history?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is I couldn't change the events that happened. Like, you know, still in grandparents' house with my cousins, with my auntie, she still said I was fat. Right? I can't change what happened.
Yeah.
But what I could change is my perspective on that, you know, event.
Yeah.
And so when she said to me I was fat, rather than I could see it as, you know, oh, she's attacking me and that's who I am, I could also see it as she's just looking out for me and care for me, right? Because she loves me. But to this day, I still don't know which one of those was the case. But at the end of the day, you know, if it's just my perception of the event and not the event itself, I'm empowered to change it. I chose to listen to and see the story as she said that because she cared and loved me. I don't know that's true at the end of the day, but how I see is one story is more empowering, inspiring, versus the other one's more, you know, diminishing and disempowering. And so when I decided to listen to that story, I changed my life. And I think the quote that comes in is, you know, when you change the way you look at things, the way you look at things change. You know? So you change the story, you change your life. And I think for me, that's how I became full circle into really overcoming that belief of you know, people pleasing. And I like to think maybe only 5% or 10% of it still exists today, but it's not it doesn't dictate who I am and how I go about life anymore.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that, man. Holy shit.
Thank you.
Genuinely, that was absolutely amazing to hear. You took me on an entire journey there, you know, and I love the fact that now you're where you are and all these experiences have really molded you into the person you are. And again, what you said is pretty much what you tell yourself is what you're affirming to yourself on a daily basis, and the manner in which you look at things that have happened will impact the way things pretty much happen around you moving forward every day. So whether it's in a good way or a bad way, it's completely up to you, you know. You have a particular responsibility as well in that sense. And I feel like similar here, you know, with people pleasing, I don't know exactly what my, you know, exact moment of, you know, people pleasing began from, but those type of factors that played into it, like having, like being really, really tiny, or like, you know, having a sort of difference in terms of race and all of those things contributed to that tendency that I had. But like recently, again, gaining some self-confidence, that's again through a lot of introspection during lockdown, which otherwise wouldn't have happened. You know, so in a similar sense, I feel like while I didn't attend too many like workshops or stuff like that, I feel initially I tried to avoid everything just by overworking, doing uni assignments. I would just sit at my computer for like 6 hours a day, refuse to think about other things. But eventually I had to confront myself. I was like, you cannot do your assignments for 24 hours a day. You can't go to the gym anymore. What are you going to do? You're going to have to look at yourself and be like, okay, what's going on? Why is this happening to you? And that's when I was like, okay, I think I need to start being a bit more honest and vulnerable with myself and with others as well. Before I would just refuse to accept what was going on with myself, just ignore the things that were going on until, you know, I accomplished something or something like that, which then would just result in like minimal long-term outbursts. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm just gonna hold it in until I can't take it anymore, which is not a great way of looking at things. So as you said, it's important to again acknowledge these things and change your perception. If you think it's a bad perception, change your perception of looking at it. So that's absolutely amazing, and I really, really appreciate the fact that you've said that, you know. But in saying that, I wanted to ask you slight challenge on what you said earlier when you said that first step was to acknowledge the problem and saying that the problem isn't, you know, really a problem because it's not your fault. Do you think we have some degree of personal responsibility in like what we might do in terms of our actions? Obviously, I'm not saying it's your fault that you were 7 years old and you got called fat. That's obviously not the case. But I'm saying that what if you're an adult and you do something and you end up hypothetically hurting yourself or someone else emotionally or in other manners, but then you blame it on something that has happened to you a long time ago? That's a genuine question because, what do you think?
It's tricky because, of course, you know, our parents and our parents' parents, they go through their own trauma and struggle, and I feel like if they don't do something bad, that gets unfortunately passed on to their children. But it's like, at what point does it stop? You know, like someone has to step and, you know, cut that line and be like, it ran in my family to ran into me. So while I don't blame people for the trauma they have, maybe because for their parents and their upbringing, because, you know, I think at the end of the day, everyone's doing the best that they can, and if they knew better, they would have done better. So that's a quote that comes from Peter Crone is, you know, you can't hold people accountable to which they're oblivious to. You know, and it's once I think we recognize that, oh, hey, this mechanism is driving and influencing the way I behave in a way that's not improving my quality of life. If we can have awareness of that, okay, now we're empowered to change it. So while it's not our fault, it's our responsibility to do something about it. The question is, are you going to do something about it?
Exactly, That's the thing, because like what I've sort of seen and agree with in a certain sense is that it's not your fault that you have trauma. It's completely fine and acceptable. But it's not an excuse to then hurt other people. If you're hurting people and then saying, oh, it's because of this that happened in my childhood or something like that, is it valid? Is what I was, you know, thinking. Again, it's dependent on context. Generally, I would think no, because I don't want to hurt you by saying something and then being like, oh, actually this happened before to me, so that's why I said it to you. And then continue doing it. No. It's my job to address it. And then get past that, maybe by changing my perception to what's happened before to me or something like that. I understand it is slightly a harsh way of looking at it, but it's still up to me to make sure I treat you well. Because it's not your problem that I went through that. You know, so it's not my job to, it's not in my sort of responsibility to go around hurting people because of it. So that's sort of the question I had. But that does make sense in terms of what you said.
I think now that you explain that, I think it makes more sense now. I think with the example you provided of, let's say you're hurting people and then you go, oh no, I'm behaving this because it's not my fault. It's because, you know, I was abused back home. Like, but if you're, I guess, putting the blame on what happened in childhood, okay, now you're a victim to circumstance. That's a very powerless place to be. And, you know, I think it's very easy to just point fingers at people when things go wrong. You go, you know, their fault, you know. But the thing is, if you're pointing fingers at people, you know, now you need permission from them. Exactly. About it. Versus if I go, and now if you look at it and say, you know, okay, maybe it's not entirely my fault, but if I take full responsibility for what has happened, then now it's within my control to do something about it. And so I think why I encourage people to be, you know, take full ownership and responsibility for their life is, you know, I want people to live a powerful life.
100%,
you know, and like, you know, things are going to happen, and I'm not saying, you know, I condone the things I want. I say that's what I want for you. I'm not saying it's preferred. But, you know, if you come to a place where it's like, you know, everything is happening for me, not to me. Right? And then take ownership of that and be committed to working towards a future I want to live. I think that's when we can start living a powerful life versus, pointing fingers at people and be like, therefore, okay, now you're victim to circumstance.
Exactly. And that also goes back to what you were saying earlier in terms of, again, the graveyard is the wealthiest place. True. In monetary sense, absolutely, but also to a certain extent, maybe character development and actually being the best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That could also be the spot for that,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen something online which said that inaction is the slowest death.
Whew.
Which is, I completely agree with that, because if you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, oh, it's okay, I'll get it done, in a few years. It's never gonna happen, and then you're gonna be in your deathbed thinking about, shit, I should have done that. The reason I say this is because of the fact that, again, going back to this point of saying, oh, this happened to me and I can't do anything about it. If you're continually saying that forever, you're never going to be the best version of yourself.
There you go.
The day you step into actually actualizing yourself and addressing that issue, then you take ownership of it. You're like, it's not happening to me. I address it now. Let's make things happen for me. Let's take some action. So, love that.
Beautifully said.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's great that, you feel that way as well and you're empowering people to do that. And one thing I should say is, bro, you're fit. You're fit. So I actually had one of those things I wanted to talk to you about, because I do see the fact that, you post your Instagram stories, you're always in the gym. I think the last time I spoke to you, you said you go, 5 to 6 days a week?
Yeah, 5 days.
Yeah, 5 days. Yeah, that's absolutely amazing, And, bro, you're weird compliment, but you're fairly flexible.
Oh, thank you.
How did that happen?
Oh, I worked really hard, practiced for it. But because I also practiced martial arts on the side.
Okay.
Did that when I was 7.
Yeah.
And since then, flexibility is a big part of my life. We stretch afterwards because, flexibility also means higher kicks as well.
Yeah. What particular discipline is that?
So it's a Vietnamese martial arts called Voy Nam.
Okay.
I feel like it's quite low key. It's like when you mention like karate and Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu, people are like, oh yeah, I know what that is. And then if I say Voy Nam, they're like, what is that? And not that it's a bad thing. It's just not, I wouldn't say, as well known as other disciplines.
Yeah.
But I think to explain what I guess my discipline is that we focus on striking, kind of like kickboxing. You got punches, you got kicks. We do have elbows and knees. But we also have a bit of wrestling. We do a bit of weapons work, like swords, maybe bow staff, knife work. So a good variety,
Yeah.
So that's how I would describe my discipline.
Damn, you can make someone feel better, but you can also hurt them very, very bad if you wanted to.
Yeah.
That's good. Love that polarity. Yeah.
No, I think it's good to at least have that power knowing you can.
Yeah.
But it's having control and choosing not to. I think that it just reminds me of a Jordan Peterson's video. Like I saw recently, it was an interview. It was a small snippet where the interviewer was like, so if you're a dangerous man, doesn't that mean I hurt people? And he was like, no, but you should have the ability to control that. And that's why martial arts teach us, we teach us to use our body as a weapon. We can utilize this, but it doesn't mean we go out, you start like bashing people and kicking people.
Of course.
But it's having that, I think, ability and confidence to know that, hey, I can look after myself, and if things get a bit heated, I can step in. But it's having the ability to do so, but also having control not to. I think that's where that's powerful.
They're having that restraint, absolutely. And how important do you think it is for people to actually know these kind of disciplines and actually have some sort of self-defense experience?
I mean, you could say...
Do you think it's essential?
I mean, I feel like, in a perfect world, which probably not going to happen, if everyone has, overcome their trauma and... and because there's a saying, hurt people hurt people. While, healing people heal people. If there's no one hurt, then I think there's no need for martial arts to protect yourself. But in saying that, outside of the physical benefit, being stronger, fitter, be able to defend yourself, there's also the mental benefits, for me, I would say I definitely gain a lot of confidence as being a martial artist as well. You learn important skills that can be transferred to other areas of life, like leadership skills. Because I'm an instructor and now I teach younger kids as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's
nice. I was assert that martial arts and teaching kids was also kind of maybe like giving me a clue that I want to be a mindset coach or coaching from form at the time, because you know what I'm doing is even though I'm always there in their life. You know, they come for maybe 1 hour, 2 hours a week.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, I know that I played a part and influence impacting them to become the person they are today. That gives me a lot of fulfillment and joy.
Absolutely, yeah. That's so amazing to hear they do that as well. You teach them, and obviously they would then know how to, you know, be a bit more confident physically and believe in themselves a little bit more. That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've dabbled in a bit of Muay Thai as well. I don't know if I told you about that, but it was a really good experience when I did do it. I don't really do it anymore because I was like, damn, I'm paying way too much and I go too little. I used to feel guilty all the time, so I was like, alright, I'm going to stop for a bit, but I'll get back to it eventually. But when I did it, I found that it gave me a lot more confidence in my physicality in terms of just being able to move, man, because it teaches you how to be comfortable in your own body, and you know that sort of choreography. You learn to be comfortable, you know, with your body and like with someone right in front of you. If it's a confrontation, in a confrontational scenario. So it's absolutely interesting. I think it ties into the fact that, personally for me as well, physical fitness plays a huge role in my self-confidence as a whole. Because having, as I told you again, I was super tiny, but even addressing that through whether it is being physically fit or even improving my physical stature a little bit, I feel like plays a huge role in my self-confidence. I feel like, okay, I can stand tall a little bit, you know, bigger frame, cool. I feel better. That's just me personally, being super honest. Do you feel a certain way in that sense?
I mean, of course, with the physical benefits, it does definitely play a role in terms of, you know, influencing the confidence and self-esteem I have as a person. But I would assert, and I think, you know, closing the loop with the previous question of like what I've gained as well, like there's the mental part as well. Like I feel like if you are confident, you believe yourself to be confident, you're self-assured who you are, physically the way you express yourself, present yourself is a byproduct of that confidence as well. Internally. So yes, you get a nice body too, and that would help, but that to me is an extension of your inherent belief of you being confident and self-assured of yourself. Yeah.
It's kind of being able to show yourself that, oh wait, I can put consistent action into things. And I feel like maybe, you know, physical fitness, whether it's through working out at the gym, through learning martial arts, running, anything like that, it can be a huge indicator of the fact that you're putting consistent action towards something that's going to yield good results for yourself. And you can see it. So I think that really, really helps. Whether things in your life are working out or they're not, you could be working out, you know, and you're going to feel that difference. And whether it's been a good or bad day, you definitely know that, at least this is one thing that I can progress in or, you know, feel better.
Yeah.
So
I think to even add on to that, it's like you're right, like when you can focus on progressing one thing, I think that's also evidence to show yourself, hey, if I can progress and do this, what else can I do in my life? Such a transferable skill. And I think, you know, I think gym is probably one of the greatest examples of delayed gratification. So I think the society we live in, we want things right away, you know, like instantly, like this, I want that right away.
These days, everything is instant, man. You want to get some food after this, it's here. You know, you want to ride, it's here. Anything that you need, it's right there. And I think we've perhaps, as in our generation at least, a lot of people have lost the ability to delay their gratification because we're so used to getting things immediately as well. And I see even with gym, there's a lot of people that want it immediately and may resort to other methods, but is it worth it, you know? Because you're gonna know. So
and I think the quote that comes to mind is, you know, strong people create good times create weak people, and weak people create hard times. It's a quote from Tony Robbins. It's like, I think as of now, if it were probably in between good times and maybe weak people, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Was it always? Did they say people? Because the one that I've seen forever is like strong men create good times, and good times create weak men. But that's good that you sort of generalized it in that sense.
Yeah.
But I absolutely agree.
Mm.
I was waiting. I was gonna see like how many episodes is it gonna take for that quote to be brought up. Because I love that quote. But I was like, I'm gonna let it happen naturally. Second episode done. But it's the absolute truth, because we went through a tough time and not everyone's comfortable, and therefore no one wants to put in the work towards anything, and it's very evident in how everything functions now. So I think it's very easy to be different now, even if you're able to delay that gratification just a little bit. So I absolutely agree with you in that sense. And going back to it, gym is the best, like, an easiest form of delayed gratification, because you see those long-term results. Do you think you've experienced that for yourself and that's transferred to other things?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think martial arts was probably the first delayed gratification for me.
Okay.
Because you're going through body conditioning, like getting stronger for the body, you're able to take more like hits. Not saying they physically like beat us up. Over time you learn new techniques and skills, and like you start with the basics, of course. So first like punches, kicks, blocks, and that later on leads to maybe more advanced techniques where you're doing like certain combos where you can bundle things together, and I think that has translated well into other areas of life. To answer your question, like gymming as well, because from martial arts I understand that it's a compound effect. Getting better a bit every single day consistently over a period of time leads to big exponential results. I just use gym as well because that's a great example. People maybe will work out for if you work for a week or two, you might not see anything, a month maybe something. You fast forward to 3 to 6 months, like wow, you're probably a whole lot of people. But I think the trap is when people don't see the results right away, they say, "Oh, it's not working. I'm gonna give up." It's
been a week. How come I don't have a 6-pack yet? How come I can't bench my own body weight?
It's also having that patience as well, and understanding that it's to trust the process. Trust that you're doing the right thing. You have the right guidance. Just keep going at it. Because if you already know the life that you're living right now is not what you want, and you're trying to do something different, you're not seeing results, is giving up going to do any better? Or is continuing, knowing that there's a chance that my life could be better if I keep going? Like, I feel like that's more inspiring to work towards, Because there's at least a chance that I can change my life if I keep going. Versus if I give up, okay, now you'll revert back to your old life. Exactly. Which you didn't want.
If you don't do anything, 0% anything's going to change. If you do something, even if there's a 0.0001% chance, there's a chance. So do it. Do it. So I completely agree with that, and I think engaging in activities and work that is delayed in terms of its gratification is extremely important for our satisfaction, like intrinsically, having that self-confidence, having that day-to-day fulfillment as well is really, really important in terms of all of this, because as long as you're doing something that brings you delayed gratification, then you're going to be getting that fulfillment from the journey itself as opposed to achieving it. Because I don't know, achieving, when you get it done, when you accomplish that goal, it's good for like 20 seconds. Then you're like, cool, what now? Right?
Yes.
So that journey itself is something that's a lot more, memorable, empowering, gives you that confidence and that fulfillment. So it's really important to engage in those type of activities. And again, in these days, instant gratification is encouraged. I think we should all take a look. I should take a look at my screen time and try not to, do things like just scrolling on TikTok immediately after getting home from work and all of that. Those small things we think is like, I'm relaxing. It's not. So it's true. A lot of things are instant gratification today, but engaging in the delayed gratification can really bring us long-term fulfillment, results, happiness, everything. So I love that.
Because you worked to get to that point too. So that's why it makes it so rewarding, because I did all of this to get there. Yeah.
100%. That's so good. I love that.
Mm.
But yeah, do you have anything else to add? If you had any particular, you know, takeaways from this, or one thing you want to leave everyone with, what would that be?
That's good. I knew this question was coming because I watched the first podcast.
Yes.
I think, maybe two things.
Okay, no, go for it.
Yeah, I think the first thing is, having trust and faith that, life is going to present to me people and circumstances for your own benefit and evolution. In other words, life is always happening for us, not to us. And so maybe you're going through a hard time where, it just feels like it's so easy to give up. You're not seeing the results you want, you're not where you want to be, but I promise you, if you keep pushing at it, you keep going at it, persistent action with the right guidance, you're gonna get there.
Yeah,
you're gonna get there. And I think the final one is, just have more grace and patience for yourself. I think, wherever at in life, you're doing the best that you can from the level of awareness and knowledge you have. And so, don't be too hard on yourself. I think love yourself more and have trust that you're heading in the right path and life is, on your side.
That is absolutely amazing. Thank you very much, man. I really, really appreciate it. I love that conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well as much as I did. I'm now gonna go buy some suits because I feel very, very inferior. But if you like this, please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Share it everywhere you want. If you have anything at all, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, that was Tommy. He's the Mindset Coach. Where do we follow you?
So I have I got an Instagram page and that's where I post my videos. My Instagram is Tomi Lieu _
Right here.
Yeah, and I also have a quote account. This is my bio.
Right here.
So yeah, just keep at it. I'm thinking of making TikTok soon, so making videos there.
There we
go. Stay tuned.
Easy. So we'll catch you soon. You guys take care. See you next time.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Care.